Viewer discretion is advised.
I've been seeing this picture all over social media. If you don't live in Mississippi, like myself, you probably have no idea who this lady is. I was going through comments and people were bashing Coach Prime, like he was selling his soul or something bad like that. That made me look more into who she was and why people had these reactions. This is Sydney Hyde-Smith. She is a 62-year-old Republican as well as a senator of Mississippi. Before anyone gets in the comments and says something to the likes of, I'm only talking about her because she's a Republican, go to the kitchen, grab the sharpest knife, and cut the BS. I don't give a damn about a political party. They all lie. People in Mississippi are questioning this photo of Coach Prime and the senator because of her past. Senator Hyde-Smith has been in hot water since before she even took office. She ran for office in 2018 and barely won over Democrat Mike Espy. This information can be found in articles from Mississippi Today and the Clarion Ledger. On November 11, 2018, Hyde issued a statement responding to a video clip that showed her praising a supporter by saying, "If he invited me to a public hanging, I'd be on the front row."
An anti-lynching group in Memphis is weighing in on a national firestorm created by comments made by a Mississippi senator.
And today, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith said a comment she made that was caught on camera before the election was a joke made to the rancher who was standing next to her. Hard to hear there, but she said if he invited me to a public hanging, I would be on the front row.
When I was doing my research for this video, that was honestly all I needed to hear. The last president we had gave all of the closet racists the confidence they needed to really speak their minds. Hyde-Smith said in a news release that Sunday, in a comment on November 2nd, I referred to accepting an invitation to a speaking engagement. In referencing the one who invited me, I used an exaggerated expression of regard. And any attempt to turn this into a negative connotation is ridiculous.
A sitting U.S. Senator refusing to apologize for joking about a public hanging in a state that has a history of lynchings. I can't believe that I'm about to say this in 2018. I'm talking about Mississippi Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith. She is seen in this video posted to Twitter praising a cattle rancher and thanking him for his support.
He invited me to a public hanging. I'd be on the front row.
Wow. Hyde-Smith is still fighting for her Senate seat, and it's worth mentioning that her opponent is an African-American. She is facing former Democratic Congressman Mike Espy in a runoff election on November 27th because neither received 50% of the vote. Well, Hyde-Smith responded with outrage over her remark in a statement saying this. She said, in a comment on November 2nd, I referred to accepting an invitation to speaking engagement. In referencing the one who invited me, I used an exaggerated expression of regard, and any attempt to turn this into a negative connotation is ridiculous. But today, at a news conference with Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant, reporters asked questions about the comment, and I just want you to hear how it all went down.
We put out a statement yesterday, and we stand by that statement.
Could you expand on it then, why you said it, what you meant by it, and why people in the state should not see it as offensive?
We put out the statement yesterday, and it's available, and we stand by that statement.
Senator, are you familiar with Mississippi's history of lynchings?
I put out a statement yesterday, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Governor
You mentioned that it shouldn't be viewed with a negative connotation. Could you at least explain how it could be
yesterday, and we stand by the statement, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
Is that phrasing in your everyday lingo, in your vocabulary? Do you use
I put out a statement yesterday.
Governor, you appointed her as a United States Senator. You have a huge black population that are looking for answers on why she used that kind of language. And you have worked to try to make it known that Mississippi no longer has that past. When you're hearing her say, I put out a statement yesterday, and that's all
I think she is, she's certainly addressing the fact that she has put out a statement. I can tell you all of us in public life have said things on occasion that we could have phrased better. When you make as many speeches as we do in public life, that does occur. But I know this woman and I know her heart. I knew it when I appointed her. I know it now. She meant no offense by that statement. There was nothing in her heart of ill will. Now, in a political campaign, people can make anything you say what they want it to say. They can spin it They can go on social media and accuse you of all sorts of things.
Governor,
she feels certain that, I believe, I won't speak for her, but that her statement spoke to it. Absolutely, we have been sensitive to race relations in this state. I brought the President of the United States here to open the Civil Rights Museum. And African American leadership that would fail to even come to the event because the President of the United States was there. Today I talked about the genocide of over 20 million African American children. You see, in my heart, I am confused about where the outrage is at about 20 million African American children that have been aborted. No one wants to say anything about that. No one wants to talk about that.
And what are we going to do with this?
Wow. Okay.
Well, those are some wild statements. I know that there are some out there that's saying it's chess, not checkers, and he's doing it to build relationships and get more money for the school. Those may be valid points. I'm not saying that you're wrong for believing that, but I have some facts that may make you ponder a bit. Senator Cindy Hyde's political advisors repeatedly recommended she embark on what would amount to an apology tour to publicly rehab her image. Her advisors wanted her to clear the air about the jarring comment she made at a November 2018 campaign event in Tupelo, when she praised the local cattle rancher by saying, "If he invited me to a public hanging, I'd be on the front row." The comment made by an appointed U.S. Senator who represented the blackest state in the nation, a state where people were lynched more than any other state in the nation, garnered national headlines and nearly tanked her campaign. High-profile donors fled from Hyde-Smith, and several international corporations publicly demanded she return previous contributions. The proposed rehab tour also meant doing some discreet, behind-closed-doors cleanup work, smoothing over her relationships with major corporate financial supporters like Walmart, Pfizer, Ledos, Google, and Facebook, all companies that asked for tens of thousands of dollars combined in campaign donations back. The recommendations from her advisors, like the refund requests from her donors, went ignored, the source said. Now 2 years later, those donors have not returned to the senator, who in turn has posted a historically poor fundraising performance in a 2020 U.S. Senate rematch with Espy, a high-profile and well-donated Democratic challenger. Defenders of Hyde-Smith, whose campaign did not respond to multiple requests for comment for this article, say her atrocious fundraising means little and that a Republican will never lose in Mississippi, especially with President Donald Trump on the ballot.
Before we get into this conversation about the U.S. Senate race in Mississippi, which has gained national attention over accusations of racism against Republican candidate Cindy Hyde-Smith. First, she told her supporters she'd be in the front row at a public hanging if you invited her. And apparently in 2014, social media posts had surfaced of her at a Confederate President Jefferson Davis's home, holding Confederate soldiers' weapons and calling it Mississippi history at its best. And here's what you know who said before stumping for her last night. Take a look.
I know her, and I know she apologized and she misspoke, but I will tell you this. I've known her for a period of time now as a senator. She's been an excellent senator. She's done a great job. She's somebody that's respected in the Senate. And I'm going there. I'm going to make, I guess, 2 rallies on top of everything else.
Spare me.
Hyde-Smith's campaign has raised less than $3 million through the beginning of October, which amounts to less money raised during the 2020 campaign cycle than any sitting U.S. senator who isn't retiring. The only senators who have raised less have one foot out the door. Retiring Senators Lamar Alexander, a Republican from Tennessee, Mike Enzi, a Republican from Wyoming, Pat Roberts, a Republican from Kansas, and Tom Udall, a Democrat from New Mexico. For instance, Walmart's political campaign committee gave $4,000 to Hyde-Smith's campaign in 2018, but hasn't given a single cent to her since the company replied to a tweet by actress Deborah Messing that Hyde-Smith's 2018 comments do not reflect the values of the company or our associates. The same goes for scientific research company Ledos, which gave the maximum donation of $10,000 to Hyde-Smith in 2018, before calling Hyde-Smith's comments offensive and an affront to everything we stand for as a company. Ledos, which has a major research and development hub on the Gulf Coast, has not given to her this year. However, it has given tens of thousands of dollars through its PAC to every other Mississippian in Congress this election cycle. Union Pacific also maxed out Hyde-Smith in 2018 but gave zilch for her in the 2020 re-election race. Several other companies did the same thing, but I think you get the idea now. Now 2 years later, the race is definitely over. Like she said, a Republican in Mississippi will never lose.
To Mississippi now, where Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith has won the state's major Senate runoff race. She defeated Democrat Mike Espy in an election marred by her controversial remarks on attending a public hanging.
Hyde-Smith clinched around 54% of the vote. Both candidates spoke to supporters last night.
In my personal opinion, all money isn't good money. Regardless of race, gender, or political preference, you can't side with someone who jokes about lynching, especially in Mississippi. We will see what unfolds from this affiliation. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. I'm out. Peace.
Senator Hyde-Smith, the video in which you reference a public hanging has received national criticism and attention. You have released a statement in which you say that any attempt to turn it into a negative connotation is ridiculous. What is the positive connotation, and are you willing to explain and or apologize tonight?
You know, at a campaign event, I had the opportunity to visit with a supporter who has a big piece of my heart. See, his mother and dad both died of cancer when he was in high school. So to express my deep regard and my sincere commitment to this young man, I used a phrase. I told him that I would fight a circle saw for him. Well, obviously, I would not stick my arm in a circle saw, nor did any of my comments ever mean that I would enjoy any type of capital punishment sitting there witnessing this. You know, for anyone that was offended by my comments, I certainly apologize. There was no ill will, no intent whatsoever in my statements. In nearly 20 years of service, of being your state senator, your commissioner of agriculture, and your U.S. senator, I have worked with all Mississippians. It didn't matter their skin color type, their age, or their income. That's my record. There has never been anything, not one thing in my background to ever indicate I had ill will toward anyone. I've never been hurtful to anyone. I've always tried to help everyone. I also recognize that this comment was twisted and it was turned into a weapon to be used against me, a political weapon used for nothing but personal and political gain by my opponent. That's the type of politics Mississippians are sick and tired of.